Hello. Time for the next video, which I'm sort of like, frankly dreading. However, there was about a foot of snow dumped on my location today, so I took a quick clip of that and put it at the end, so maybe that will make up for this video. Which, if it was me, I would be really cringy about even watching it. Forget about actually making this video. Ugh. Because unfortunately, um, I make these videos based on whatever keeps coming up for the entire week. And it's pretty rough. It's this, I mean, I'm sure you read the title, whatever I come up with for the title. The topic is something that makes me incredibly uncomfortable. And like, I just hate it with every bit of my soul. Now, I understand there's different types of people with avoidant personality disorder. Um, I don't even want to say the words. The topic of this video is asking for help and receiving help. And I feel like that lead up is so dramatic and overwrought, and you got to be kidding me, right? One of my doors is open. Please don't mind it. Actually, all this stuff that's in here, there, you can't see that one. This one, there are these bunch of baskets, and um, it's kind of like a mausoleum. Um, I mean, some of them are practical. Some of them have like um, a bin full of like electrical cords and stuff like that. But most of them are things like, one of them is like, a lot of them are photographs. One of them is my son's Thomas Tank Engine trains. That's kind of great. One of them is all the cassette tapes I had when I was a kid when I was in 80. But most of them are crap from my parents. So like, I don't know, stuff that belonged to my parents. I couldn't get myself to throw them out. So they're in there. Anyway, that's what those are, in case you were wondering. In other words, I would talk about anything in the entire universe besides the topic of today's video, because it's that cringeworthy and uncomfortable to me to talk about asking for help, and sometimes even worse, receiving help. Ugh. I'm so disgustingly independent. Um, Somebody a million years ago told me I would be a good wife. No, I would not, because I am too independent. I would never want to depend on somebody else. So basically, being in that, I mean, it keeps coming up, but being in that kind of relationship to me means compromise, which means me never getting what I want. It's like, ugh. Um, but it has come up quite a bit this week. Not necessarily with me alone, but with other people too. Me 2 weeks ago, I broke my foot, and I'm still trying to be completely independent, and yet people are trying to help me because they're decent. Is it a big problem? No, I'm able to live on my own. Am I taking a financial hit? You better believe it. There's nothing like basically working about a quarter of what I would, well, okay, I had an entire week where I didn't work at all, and then another week where I worked about a quarter of what I would normally work, because physically I'm limited. But then also things like we had 8 foot of snow today, and that's a lot of like physically um, engaging work to deal with the snow. And I did not ask anybody for help, and yet I received help, and it was like, oh, I never want to talk to you again in my life because of this. My son, actually, and this is something I feel really bad about, and I'm not exaggerating with that at all. I really do feel bad about. Had an issue, and one of my cousins was willing to help him with it, and he was like, "Oh, I don't want to ask you for help because I don't with you very often. Um, so that I feel really bad that I'm only interacting with you to ask for help." And I'm like, "Is this what I trained my kid to do?" Because that is the most like avoidant thing I've ever heard in my life. To not want to. I mean, that's not. I guess I'm going to do some editing with this. Let's start that over. Anyway, yeah, that sounds like about the most like avoidant, like practically avoidant. It's obviously not in the DSM, but to not want to um, interact with somebody because then you would be, then forced to reciprocate. Um, and if you can't reciprocate, then you have no right to ask. That sounds so. I'm like, oh, did that rub off on my son? Probably yes. Um, Probably yes. That he feels bad, although he articulated it, and people with avoidant personality sort of just avoid. They don't, you know, they don't say, "Hey, this is how I'm feeling about this," so that my cousin did exactly what he said. He said, "Listen, people like to help, and people can say no, and if it's a problem, then they can say no, and then not do that." I'm like, oh, because that is exactly what and you know what? Guess what? We actually did, both of us. I went along with it because I'm crazy, I guess. Um, Felt obligated to go to the annual Christmas Eve party. Ooh, it wasn't as bad as I thought, and we were only there for like mm, just over an hour. And it went on and on and on. We could have been there for years, um, or so it seems. I think it was only 3 hours total, so we got there right at the tail end, and we were one of the first people to leave. Um, but I have avoided it, and they commented, "It's been like 7 years since I've seen you." That's how long I've avoided these parties. Um, and we went because my son had gotten help from one of my cousins, and he's like, "Come to the party. This is what you can do to sort of reciprocate, pay back." It's disgusting. Okay, I'm still not talking about the topic really. I am. I'm giving examples of why it's so cringe. But other than that, ooh, because the reality is the act of asking for help and receiving help in a lot of ways. Ooh, this is terrible, but this is truth I don't want to admit. It's sort of like what makes relationships. Friendships are not just let's just have fun. Friendships are, can you depend on somebody? And it's usually a back and forth type of thing. it has to be a back and forth type thing. And it's just friendships. That's like everything. And you know what? I have people in my life that I very much like consciously force myself, and it sounds terrible, and I hope they're not watching this video and take it personal, but I have to force myself to remember to actively be vulnerable and talk. And then I have other people that I talk all the time relatively. For me, as a person with avoidant personality disorder, um, I feel like it's extremely one-sided, or maybe not totally one-sided, but like heavy-handed. And I understand that it's usually the other person um, feels like I feel, which is like I don't want to actually talk about anything, and I don't have anything that's going on that's worthy of talking about anyway. Um, and so I keep talking in order to keep things open, and then but it does get to the point where that's sort of wait, yeah, I did just squeeze my foot because I'm an idiot. Um, um, that's sort of a barrier too. Not having the back and forth, it okay, barrier is maybe a bad word, but it's sort of like, but that's it, sort of. I'm sure it's exactly the same thing. Like I'm the one that's yapping all the time, so they're not going to yap because that's how it works. And it's like, no, that's not really. I don't know, and it's hard to explain. It's really hard to talk about. Um, okay, so let me go just skip over all that and go to like the end of the video, which is um, my sort of my tips area. If you've noticed, I'm sure you've noticed that I try to have a this is how to do it at the end of the video, especially when it's like making me uncomfortable. um, and you see me being silent. There's a reason for that. I'm like, why am I making a video about this? I can't stand it because this is what's come up this week. All right. I think that talking about how difficult it is to ask for help actually will um, facilitate a relationship. Now, of course, and there's a part of you going, well, I don't want anything to do with a quote unquote relationship. I don't want to have a friendship. I don't want. I'm like, okay, so just ask for help, pull off the band aid, don't explain why, will make it sort of less interpersonal and more transactional. Okay, there's tip number one. Yeah, if you're just like, can you do this for me? Boom. Or even just do this for me. Will keep you from a relationship if that's what you need. But explaining that it's difficult to ask for help, if you're avoidant and you're trying to get people in your life, that will help you get people in your life. Okay? It also um, sort of greases the wheels if you explain that before you say, hey, this is what I actually want. You just sort of start talking, and then you can keep talking, and then you'll actually be able to ask for it. Okay, so those are my tips about that. Now, as far as receiving receiving help from people, this is going to be bizarre um, as far as advice. And actually, I've been having issues with my storage as far as making videos, because I've just made so many this month and I'm seriously going, God, I hope that I run out of battery and I can shut up right now. I think that disassociation when you're receiving help, if you can do that and just like not sort of mentally be there and check out, I think that's in a lot of ways, that's the only way to do it. That's the only way I know how often to accept help from people. Um, Unless it's like a slam bam thing. Like, oh, I'm going to jump in and help you. Ooh, okay, it's already done. Okay, okay. Um, because what it comes down to is this worthiness thing. I mean, you're not worthy of anything. I mean, you're really, this is outrageous. This is the thought process. I don't mean that. I don't mean you are not worthy. That's crazy. See me not talking because I want to shut up, but and it's so foreign to come out of my mouth. I'm not even not worthy. Makes me sick to say that. It really does. It really bothers me to say that. It's against everything in me to say that. I'm sorry, that's probably harsh for anybody out there to hear. But that's my reality. But everybody is worthy of receiving help. I suggest that you not be an absolute dick about it. There was a person, oh my lord. I've been over this a million times. It's been a really long time since I've actually looked at avoidant personality disorder forums because like they're out of vogue. They're out of style. People don't actually use them as much to interact. So the people that are stuck there really are people with borderline, mostly people who don't really have it, that say avoidant, oh, I avoid people, therefore I am avoidant. No, 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 no. If you avoid people, you're depressed. Anyway, there was a person a million years ago, she was like so pissed because she had like this fabulous car and one of her neighbors cleaned the snow off her car for her. Oh my God, she was going to have a heart attack. And she was just pissed about it. Guess what? People with avoidant personality disorder don't get pissed when people try to help them. They feel uncomfortable. Most of life will make you feel uncomfortable, unfortunately. That's reality. Because you've been trained to feel like you're so unworthy that you shouldn't even breathe the air. The air belongs to everybody else, but you don't even deserve the air. That is how badly most people with avoidant personality disorder have been abused. Again, it's still so hard for me to use that word. But that's how they've been treated. They've been treated that bad. And so if you've been treated that poorly, the idea that anybody's going to help you, you just don't feel worthy of it. But you don't feel worthy of anything. So if you need help, it's good practice for you to sort of accept in small, tiny chunks your worthiness of being on the planet, worthiness of existing, worthiness of having relationships, worthiness of everything. Because here it comes. The avoidance literally will not let me say like what you're supposed to say. In theory, everybody is supposed to have inherent worthiness by existing. I cannot believe that because I have avoidant personality disorder. But I can see that sort of intellectually. And I think that's valid intellectually. So I think that that's the sort of the duo best reason for accepting help. One is you probably need it. If you need it, then take it, okay? I'm saying this as incredibly hypocritically, I know that. But seriously, if you need something, take it. And somebody's willing to give it to you, take it. But also because it's good practice. It's good, simple, little ephemeral practice. Generally, people don't help you forevermore. And so there's a time limit for getting the help. And so it's good practice in this little teeny chunk of time to accept that you're worthy of that little bit of help for that small amount of time. And then you can sort of take the skills that you learned accepting help in that small little bit for the rest of rest of your life in other areas of your life. Once again, for the millionth time, I don't think this video is all that helpful. Sorry. Very conceivable that somebody's hearing that for the first time and going, oh yeah, well, yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to stop the video now. Well, okay, I'm going to lie. I'm going to stop yapping in the video now, and I'm going to add a little bit of clip of the sort of winter wonderland that is the area that I live in right now, and maybe that will be able to calm you down after stressing you out talking about accepting help from people. Have a great night, and I will talk to you next week.